Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My rude Karen neighbor demands I help her with her car problems. After that, no, I don't work for the university. Leave me alone. And after that, am I the jerk for not wanting a prenup with my rich fiance? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to fix her own car. Why would I need a car? I never leave this room. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My rude Karen neighbor demands I help her with her car problems. I live in a condo/townhome with 4 other neighbors belonging to our condo/property board. We all have our own driveways on the property. When I first moved in, my neighbor Jane, who doesn't have a car, said we could use her driveway from time to time if needed for making space for snow removal. I have 2 cars. Since the driveways are only 1 lane, one of my cars is always blocked in by the other. One day a few months ago, I wanted to take one of my cars to the car wash because it had been sitting there for quite some time. So I took car number 1 out of my driveway, parked it in her driveway, and then took car number 2 out and went on my way to get the car washed. I thought since she had said it was okay, I would leave car number 1 in her driveway until I got back, rather than putting it back in my driveway and having to move the cars around again when I got back. When I got home, Jane was banging on my door furiously. She told me that if I parked my car in her driveway again, she'd call the police. I was a bit confused because she had said it was okay. I ended up trying to be the bigger person and apologizing. I said I was sorry for the misunderstanding and that I wouldn't use her driveway anymore. After that, she was very unfriendly whenever we had crossed paths. Totally ignored me if I'd say hello. Fast forward to now. She has a used car that she purchased. Her battery is not working, and she knocked on my door asking for a boost. She has seen me give a boost to another neighbor not too long ago. She said she was now running late for an appointment and really needed my help. I said, sorry, can't help, and I closed my door without another word. Another neighbor, who knows about Jane threatening to call the police, saw this whole interaction and thought I was a bit harsh and should have just helped Jane and given her a boost. So, am I the jerk? Edit. So, I'm creepily listening and watching through my window. The other guy is helping her out. He got her booster cables ready and just slipped on the ice and fell. He kind of landed right on the fender of her car while trying to save himself from falling, and now there's a dent in it. She's losing her crap and asking him how he's going to fix this. I was starting to feel like the jerk from a lot of the comments, but now I'm kind of glad I didn't help. Edit for clarification. This was the first and last time I had put my car there. Another neighbor who doesn't have a car extended the same offer to us. I am also friends with the previous owners. They said they had always parked one of their cars in her driveway and she had never had a problem. They told me they did this on numerous occasions during the 9 years they lived here. I told them this whole story. They were surprised by her reaction. Also, where I live, snow removal is not us shoveling snow. It's a company that comes by with a big tractor and removes snow. Sometimes we can be waiting several hours for them to come. That's kind of why I didn't think 10 minutes would be a big deal when she had said I could park there while waiting for the snow removal to come, which could have potentially been hours. Not the jerk. The fact that her instinct was to threaten to call the police speaks volumes of her character. You owe her nothing. OP. Exactly, that was a bit much. Disagreements happen, I had my part in it, but threatening to call the police over a misunderstanding that wasn't putting anyone in danger? That's why I was just like, no. Well, what do you think? Should OP have helped Karen boost her car or not? Please let us know. I would have told her, sure, I'll be out in 5 minutes. Then I wouldn't have answered the door for the rest of the day. No, I don't work for the university. Leave me alone. We, equals girlfriend and me, met our first real Karen in the wild, and OMG, I'll never look at this channel the same again because I can now truly imagine some of the situations that get shared here. Backstory. I live in a town in the Netherlands which has a university that is also internationally known. As a result, we get a lot of foreign students here, which, in my opinion anyway, is what makes this place so nice to live in. When shopping, for example, you can easily run into people speaking English, obviously, German, French, Spanish, and there are even Chinese and Japanese students here. I kind of enjoy that international character, especially when you keep in mind that my hometown is actually rather small. Anyway, My girlfriend has an overseas cousin living in Japan who got accepted to attend the university. And since my girlfriend hadn't seen her cousin for many years, she was obviously really looking forward to meeting up again once we learned of this. Things to know. My girlfriend and me don't live together, but we go visit each other every other weekend, either her or my place. Obviously, she came over to mine this weekend. Another thing is that I often enjoy wearing a body warmer versus a regular coat, which apparently sometimes makes you stand out a bit, but really not that much more from someone wearing a red or bright yellow jacket, which is sometimes also a thing over here. Alas, when this incident took place, the cousin had been here for roughly a week or so. The meet. So it's Saturday. The weather is very nice, and off we go. Now, the university doesn't really have a dormitory, as you often see in the US, but from what I have heard, they do maintain a few buildings around town where some students are invited to. Most students need to take care of their own housing though. But the cousin got lucky and was invited to stay in one of the buildings maintained by the university itself. When we got there, it was somewhat busy because there were a few new students moving in, so we met up outside in front of the building. My girlfriend and her cousin were very happy to actually meet in person again, so yeah, first moments there was a lot of Japanese going back and forth, but eventually they decided to switch to English because they figured this was more fair towards me, and now I could also join the conversation. I didn't really mind though. I actually learned a few new Japanese phrases. So here we are, talking in English about stuff, when we're suddenly met with, "Finally, some service. You can stop talking to them now and get to work, here." And when the three of us look over to where this tirade was coming from, we see a filled-out woman with that hairstyle, sunglasses, the works, as she drops 2 suitcases right next to me, followed by a bag she was wearing over her shoulder, and then proceeds to walk towards the building. What on earth? "Madam, what are you doing? You shouldn't just leave your bags here," I tell her, but to no avail. She completely ignores me and just walks inside the building. My girlfriend is confused. I tell the ladies that we're just going to stand somewhere away from the suitcases since these aren't ours. When the cousin asks if this isn't dangerous because someone could steal them, my girlfriend and I basically tell her, "Oh well, we're not going to look after someone's luggage after they just insulted us." My girlfriend excuses herself to me and explains to her cousin, in Japanese again, that the culture in the Netherlands is very different from that in Japan, and that she needs to be careful about this because some people might otherwise take advantage of her sense of morale. The twist. Because I couldn't really participate in that conversation, I started paying more attention to our surroundings again and noticed that a student had come out of the building, noticed the suitcases, and was now looking around. When he noticed me looking at him, he asked me if I knew whose suitcases these were, and I told him, in my language, "Some arrogant American jerk has left these behind." And the very moment I told him, I noticed that he immediately knew who I was talking about. He tells me that she was the mother of one of the new students, and she had been nothing but trouble for the past few days. However, because they couldn't really do anything about her, they just tried to ignore her as best as possible. Also, because the daughter was nothing like her mother at all, and even profusely apologized several times for the somewhat mental behavior. One of the reasons the daughter decided to attend this university was also to get away from her mom in the first place. Fortunately enough, the mother would be gone in a few days, and that would be the end of it, so people just figured they'd cope while it lasted. Next, he grabs the suitcases, declines my offer to help, and tells me that he'll take them inside the building to keep them safe, and he'll let the student know about it. Say, if anyone other than the mean lady asks, please tell them that name has them. Otherwise, could you please just ignore her or something? I know I'm asking a lot, he tells me. I smile, nod, but tell him no promises, and meanwhile, the ladies had switched back to English again. This time, we're talking about shops that are available. The cousin tells us that she's lucky to have found a discounter, Aldi, but it's somewhat far away. After which, girlfriend and me tell her that there's a Lidl closer by, which also is not too expensive. One thing leads to another, and we soon decide to go over there. Also, because girlfriend and me had to do some shopping anyway. The cousin runs inside to grab her bag and some other stuff while girlfriend and me wait outside. The fallout. Sure enough, jerk lady shows up again, spots me and storms over. "Hey you, where are my bags?" she yells. I tell her, "How should I know? Maybe try asking inside." And she looks upset. "No, that is your job." You go get my bags already, right now. Is this for real? Are we actually experiencing a Karen in the wild? It was then and there when I decided that I would write this up, especially when I replied, "Madam, this isn't my job. I don't work here." She almost cuts me off. "Shut up. Of course it's your job. You're wearing the uniform." At which point my girlfriend completely loses it in laughter, which visibly annoys the Karen even more. "You call that a uniform?" My girlfriend stammers. She now officially has the giggles. Poor me. "How stupid are you?" And she laughs some more, almost doubling over. See, we actually had a small argument about my choice of pants that morning. I wore a rather worn-out pair of jeans, of which the end of the pipes were basically torn in half, because I figured I'd just wear it, despite it being a little bit too long for me. Strong boots, plus little disregard for puddles, just do it, eventually took their toll on the pipes. I think it looks kinda rough and rugged, better than people who wear pants with holes in them, but my girlfriend disagrees, though she does respect my choice, bless her. But yeah, what uniform? Alas, now we had an enraged Karen. "What's your name? I'm going to report you to the management," she yells at me. My girlfriend's giggles now also started to have their effect on me, so I go, "You don't need to know our identification," even briefly making the gesture a bit, which obviously triggered my girlfriend even further, which in its turn enraged the Karen a whole lot more. She actually turned red. "How dare you make fun of me? This is all your fault. I'll have your job. I'll sue. Just you wait. You're going to pay big time for my damages, and once my lawyers—" And then I followed up on something that I actually remembered more people mentioning on this very same channel, which was already fully in my mind by then. I raised my finger and moved it straight into her face. Much to my surprise, this was the very first time in my entire life I ever did that, it actually worked. She actually piped down, giving me the opportunity to retort. "I told you, I do not work here. I do not work for the university. I do not work for this building. I'm a visitor. I even tried to warn you about this, but you chose to ignore me. What kind of idiot just dumps their suitcase next to a complete stranger in front of a building?" The shopping. At this time, the cousin comes out again, sees the commotion, but my girlfriend quickly snaps out of her giggles, at least for the moment, which is all I noticed, and beacons her cousin over while she starts walking towards the gate, giving me a quick pat on the back to make me aware of this. So I tell the Karen, "Go inside. Try asking nicely if someone knows about any unattended suitcases and leave us alone." While I'm starting to follow my girlfriend, which is followed by a, "How dare you?" To which I say, "No, how dare you?" And we walk away. As we're 5 or so minutes into our walk with casual chatter, my girlfriend suddenly says, "She's following us." We decide to ignore her and went our way to the supermarket. We do our shopping. Girlfriend and me even decide on a little courtesy gift. So when we're standing in line before the registers, girlfriend tells her cousin that we'll be paying for the groceries, which almost brought her to tears. She was very appreciative. Really nice girl. And then we got into the second act. Suddenly, the woman started screaming and shrieking that, "I need a manager. Those jerks stole my luggage," which immediately sent my girlfriend into giggles again when she murmured, "Our Royal Highness masked luggage." She saw Spaceballs just the night before. As could be expected, over here, nothing happened. We paid, bagged our stuff, and left while the woman kept shrieking when I suddenly heard an alarm going off just as we went outside, but for obvious reasons we didn't stick around, nor did we see her following us anymore. We actually did learn what happened though. Aftermath. This evening, my girlfriend gets a text from her cousin asking if we could meet in the park. In the evening. Strange. But we go over there, and sure enough, cousin is there with another girl. This girl turned out to be the Karen's daughter, who immediately apologizes to us, telling us over and over how sorry she was for what had happened. She learned that girlfriend's cousin was somewhat involved in all the happenings, and thus asked and pleaded, almost begged her if she would please, please, please allow her to apologize to us in person. Writing this up still makes me swallow uneasy. This still gets to me. I feel really bad for that poor girl. At the same time, I also really admire how she manages to distance herself from all the crap that her mother is pulling. Seriously, if she would ever ask for help, then both girlfriend and me will probably step right in, even though we don't know her. Yeah, she was nothing like her mother. Nothing at all. The apple can fall far from the tree, it seems. I honestly felt, and still feel, sorry for her. Really, because she was so sincere. Very honest and really a fun and cheerful person to be around. We're even planning to invite her to a future shopping with the 4 of us. See how that goes. Me and 3 giggling girls. Oh dear. But what happened? Enter the Netherlands, where no one pays any attention to screaming lunatics. Unless, of course, they try to leave a store with stolen goods. It seems she took something out of our cart, but although none of us noticed her doing that, my girlfriend did notice the item, the candy, was missing. So she just grabbed it again from the racks next to the registers, and we checked out as if nothing happened. When we just bagged our things and left, versus getting upset over our missing item, I guess, the Karen lost it and ran after us, which triggered the alarm, which triggered security. And because of her actions, several cashiers already had their eyes on her, so when she did make a run, they immediately got her. No, she didn't spend the night in jail or anything. In the Netherlands, we take great care for our criminals. But according to the daughter, the experience did have its effect on her mother. Not a positive one, though. It seems the mother is going to sue Lidl once she's back in the States because they served someone who stole her luggage. Even the fact that the daughter got her suitcase back afterwards doesn't seem to change this. Tomorrow she'll be gone, though, and we can sleep easy again. My heart goes out to all our US Redditors who risk having to deal with this kind of stupidity on a daily basis. This was a tiring, taxing, and bizarre experience, and I hope I'll never meet another Karen again. Thanks for reading. Am I the jerk for not wanting a prenup with my rich fiancé? My fiancé, 28 male, and I, 25 female, had previously agreed that I'd quit my job and be a stay-at-home mom because we both had absent parents due to their work and felt neglected when we were little, so we wanted to do it differently for our kids. We decided I'd be the parent to stay home because he has a much higher paying job, which is enough to support a family on, which I'm all right with it because having a parent at home is something that's really important to both of us. However, we made the mistake of not discussing the topic of prenups previously. He assumed because he comes from a rich family and has a highly paid job, I'd automatically understand that a prenup was expected. Whereas I didn't expect anything because I genuinely forgot all about the topic, which was probably ditzy of me. I'm just so in love with this guy and want to marry him that I didn't think anything of the what if we break up situation, which was naive of me, I know. I told him I don't want a prenup because I'd be giving up my career to raise the kids and would be left with nothing financially if we were, God forbid, to separate. It would be a struggle to get back to where I am wage-wise and to find somewhere to live. I come from a poor background, so my parents wouldn't be able to support me aside from letting me and my kids sleep on their 2-seater couch, which isn't a good look for custody agreements. So I gave him a compromise that I'd sign the prenup, but I wouldn't quit my job to be a stay-at-home mom, but he still insists that I sign the prenup and be a stay-at-home mom. Am I the jerk for not wanting a prenup? Edit 1. No contract has been drawn up yet, but verbally, he wants a prenup that offers me nothing at all. My apologies, that was vital information, I should have mentioned it earlier. Edit 2. I appreciate all the comments, thank you. A lot of very valid points have been raised, especially that my fiance's behavior is a red flag. I totally agree. I hate it, but I am honestly reconsidering my relationship. So, he wants you to give up your financial independence in order to raise a family with him, but also wants to make sure you're not legally entitled to any of his wealth should things not work out? Absolutely not the jerk, and do not sign it. OP. Correct. That's the wording I was looking for. Thank you. Tell him you are open to a prenup, but you want to negotiate it in such a way that takes into account what you are giving up, because you make very valid points. Get a lawyer to help you negotiate. It's absolutely reasonable to have something in place that protects both of you, plus any potential kids. It's not just what you are giving up. You should have a reasonable expectation for you and your kids to be taken care of in the same way if he was to suddenly decide that he wants to replace you sometime in the future. If he has a prenup that says you get nothing, then what's stopping him from going out and having other women if he doesn't face any consequences? I'm not saying he can't have a prenup, but you should have one that at least protects you and your kids from being dumped on the street. OP. I agree. Not the jerk. Are you sure you want to be married to this guy? He's clearly showing you who he is and how much or how little he thinks of you. Believe him. 100% not the jerk. If he wants you to give up your financial independence without any future security, I wouldn't sign it unless it had something in there to make sure you'd be financially covered in the case of a separation. Seek some legal advice on how to make sure the prenup is fair if you go down that road. OP. Alright, thank you. Not the jerk. If you're going to drop your career and make no more money yourself, you have every right to want to keep that now for if something happens. He's crazy to think that you'd be okay with being left having nothing because you sacrificed everything to be a stay-at-home mom. OP. Precisely. That's why I'm so flabbergasted that he would want a prenup that doesn't benefit me at all. Not the jerk. Leaning towards you are the jerk. Prenups must be written in a fair manner to avoid the scenario you are describing. Marriages break down. In fact, there is more of a chance your marriage will fail nowadays. Why would you not want a mutually agreed upon set of guidelines to take the acrimony out of a split? 1. It's to protect his family's assets. I can support that. 2. It gives you an opportunity to retain independent legal counsel that will more than likely stipulate spousal support, temporary or permanent. I don't understand why there is this hesitation for prenups. They are the best way to ensure you have a clean-cut separation set aside by both spouses when they are sane, rational, and not muddled up by the roller coasters of emotions associated with divorce. Some might say it's unromantic, but so is going through a divorce. Marriage is about love, yes, but let's stop pretending that it also is not an economic partnership. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her fiancé? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for not expecting my daughter to pay for her brother's wedding after she was disinvited due to his fiancé? I have a son, John, who's 28, and a daughter, Rita, who's 31, and both are on okay terms with each other. Ever since my husband passed, nearly a decade ago, Rita has stepped up and taken care of all of us financially. She's funded a huge portion of John's life and helped him get a job without debt. She's let me live with her in her house and is very, very soft-spoken and calm. Recently, John proposed to his longtime girlfriend, Sam, and they've begun planning their wedding. Sam and John have made it clear that they want Rita to help them out financially, again, as they're saving up for a house and to have a kid. Sam has a huge family, and everyone there has very close relationships, so they've already cut down on the guests from John's side. Neither I nor Rita care about this, but recently, one of Sam's long-lost childhood friends informed them that she'll be in town during the wedding, so they had to remove one guest because of the venue's rules, and that person was Rita. Sam told John, and John told me that she doesn't want Rita to be there cause they're not very close, and she can always see the couple sometime else. I was rude and questioned her as to why they're removing someone who's helping them out, to which the reply was, I don't like how she's butting into John's life, and that childhood friend is more likable. Rita's hurt and told the couple that she won't be paying a dime for their wedding, and even went as far as planning a trip on the same date with her friends. Now John and Sam are yelling at me, saying that I've spoiled her and made her into an egotistical loser, but Rita's already given them an engagement and a wedding gift, apart from the funding. So I told them that she's done her part, and that childhood friend could cover the expenses. Sam is mad and is threatening to go no contact. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Who removes their sister from the guest list to make room for their fiancé's friend? Seriously, that's a massive jerk move. Why should they still expect her to pay for the wedding when she isn't invited? This is so ridiculous, I question whether or not this post is real. OP. Sam's not really fond of Rita, but they've never met without me being there. It's irrelevant whether they like Rita or not. It is rude and baffling to expect her to pay for a wedding from which they have disinvited her. Not the jerk for supporting Rita. Wow, how on earth did your son end up so entitled? Or has Sam been putting this all in his head? How awful for Rita. John and Sam are most definitely the jerks here. Probably because he has been used to Rita providing everything quietly. OP mentioned Rita is very mild-mannered. I hope Rita stops helping them out from now on and lets reality smack him in the face. Am I the jerk for asking a kid to stop playing loud music in a restaurant? I went out for breakfast with my kid at a chain restaurant in the US. When we sat down, a kid at the table next to us started playing music on a cell phone at full volume. It was really loud. I politely asked them to turn the music down or off. The parent looked at me like I was crazy and refused. I got up and asked for a different table because I did not want to listen to someone's loud music throughout my meal. When I sat back down, I apologized to the parent for upsetting them and explained that I am hard of hearing and that excessively loud sounds would make it difficult for me to hold a conversation with my daughter. The parent went off on me, saying that her daughter is autistic and that she had never asked someone to turn their phone volume down in a public place, which this is not. It's a privately owned restaurant. Am I the jerk here? Not the jerk. You were polite. You even apologized. Not the jerk. What an obnoxious parent. The kids should be wearing headphones. I see grown-ups do the same thing on the train all the time. Once, I kindly offered someone the use of my headphones. It shamed the guy enough to turn off the music. Have you ever worked with someone who literally had to be monitored through their entire shift? For a while, I was working in a restaurant that basically lived by the like a family mantra. Management knew we all had crap going on and generally took great care of us. Unless you were doing something that was both illegal and harmful, it was basically impossible to get fired from this place. That last point has its pros and cons. Enter Tiff. Tiff was a sweet, sensitive woman with blatantly disabling mental issues. It was obvious to everyone who worked with her that Tiff cared what others thought of her and wanted to do a good job, but she seemed unable to complete most multi-step tasks. After weeks of one-on-one training, she would still need to be given instructions one step at a time and always needed someone to keep her on track. It's cruel, but multiple supervisors complained that Tiff was like a reverse employee, because having Tiff on the roster meant you'd be juggling your job and babysitting her, because there were many, many things Tiff had to be kept from doing. Eventually, Tiff was relegated to stalking duty, a position created entirely for her, and the only thing she was capable of doing in the restaurant. Tiff could not take an order, refill drinks, seat guests, or be in any customer-facing position, nor did she possess the mindfulness to work in back of house, but she was great at stalking. We did have to create a list for Tiff detailing each item that needed to be stocked, and then later modify it to say what time she should restock each item. But once Tiff overcame that hurdle, she ran with it. We had what was perhaps the most well-stocked restaurant that has ever been, and it was because of Tiff. Unfortunately, even after finding Tiff's niche, we still had a lot of strange events unfold. Tiff had to turn her phone into the office when she reported to work because she would disappear to the bathroom for 20+ minutes at a time to stand in the handicap stall and play YouTube at top volume. Why did she stand in the stalls? Apparently, she thought the seats in there were too dirty to sit on. She had access to the cleaning supplies and Lysol that were, conveniently, in the same bathroom, but preferred to just not interact with the toilets in the first place. We had to ban her from using the store phone because, after turning her phone in, she would use the store phone to make regular phone calls throughout the day to her mom and boyfriend. She'd typically talk about her cat and ask about dinner and had zero awareness of how busy we were around her. One day, she borrowed my phone to make an urgent call. She went to the supply closet and audibly had a long conversation with her mother, again about her cat. When she gave my phone back, I checked the call logs, and no call had been recorded. The most significant incident we had with Tiff was actually the last day she worked for us. No correlation. We only offered orders to go during lockdown, and customers were instructed to call the restaurant and we'd have them pay outside before bringing the meals out to them. It got super busy because most of the restaurants near us were closed completely. During a rush, we lost track of Tiff completely. About 30 minutes later, those of us in front of house collectively realized Tiff was missing. She never told anyone she was leaving and was still clocked in. A handful of us formed some kind of impromptu search party to scout the restaurant premises looking for her, but we don't find her anywhere. She's not in the bathrooms, the closets, the walk-ins, or out back. She's not in the parking lot or the break room. Tiff has disappeared from the restaurant completely. Eventually, one girl offhandedly mentions that she had seen Tiff walk out to her car and drive away. She hadn't even taken off her apron. We started discussing what could have prompted her to walk out like that. A short while later, Tiff returns in a perfect mood and starts working as if she hadn't just disappeared for over 45 minutes. Apparently that day, we had not taken Tiff's phone. Knowing she was not supposed to use our restrooms to watch YouTube, and apparently fearing whatever microbes were on our toilet seats specifically, Tiff had driven down the road to use the public restroom in Domino's instead. She was wearing her apron the entire time. Tiff quit shortly before her shift the next day as she said she had been hired at Olive Garden. Act like a jerk in the middle seat? Get arrested. After seeing another post about a middle seat jerk, it reminded me of what happened back in 2004, and this is unintentional pro-revenge on my part. This happened on a flight back after dropping my mother-in-law off at home. She was in her 80s and didn't like flying alone, So whenever she visited with my wife and me, I ended up flying down to pick her up and flying back with her to take her home. I liked earning the miles, plus I enjoyed it a lot because I genuinely adored my mother-in-law. Anyway, I had the aisle seat, which I always book, and the guy in the middle seat, who was there before me, refused to move his leg and kept his arm on the armrest. I got in my seat, but he's really pushing back hard. It feels like he's basically trying to take over the entire row. I'm pushing back too, but refuse to continue to this entire flight, even though it's barely a 75-minute flight. As the flight attendant walked by prior to liftoff, I purposely commented loud enough for her to hear, "Dude, stop trying to play footsie with me. I'm not interested." He got all flustered and moved a little bit, though not a lot. Fast forward to just after takeoff. Seatbelt sign is turned off and they're getting ready to serve drinks. Now he's spreading out again, but even more than before. I unhooked my belt and jumped out of my seat and yelled at him to stop touching me. FA and the air marshal rush up to me as quickly as they could to see what's going on, while he's trying to form words. I tell them he keeps rubbing his leg against me and won't stop even after I tell him to. Before this guy could respond, the passenger in the window seat says he's rubbing up against him too. He gets taken out of the middle seat, protesting the whole time. He's sat down in a jump seat with the marshal next to him. The FA comes back to me and the guy by the window and offers us a free drink for our inconvenience. We both accept gladly. Free beer is always a good thing. About 20 minutes before the flight is supposed to land, the marshal comes back to me and asks if I wanted to press charges. I seriously thought about doing it, but said no. I'm just glad he's not next to me and pushing up against me. The guy in the window seat said the same, and we figured that was that. After the flight landed and we had exited the plane, I see the middle seat guy in cuffs and a couple of cops talking to the FA. The air marshal saw me standing there and walked over to me. I asked him what happened. She said the guy started calling the flight attendant all kinds of names, and she was pressing charges against him because he did make a threat of harm. He asked me again if I wanted to press charges, and again, I told him no. The guy's already in enough trouble. As I walked away, I looked at the idiot and started laughing. Maybe next time he'll just move. I didn't want him arrested. I just wanted him to stop being a jerk. He's the one who decided to make it worse for himself.
Huge shout out to our newest official channel member, Angela. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. It really means the world to Reddit Boy and I. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.